in a small village called Mbivizo, deep in the green hills of South Africa. A baby boy was born on July 18, 1918. His parents named him Rolilala Koza Ward, meaning pulling the branch of a tree, or more mischievously, troublemaker. No one knew then that this boy, one day, would shake the branches of an entire nation and help change the world. He was later given an English name at school, Nelson, by a teacher who followed the British custom of renaming African children. At the time, it seemed like a simple formality, but Nelson Mandela would soon become a name feared by oppressors and cherished by millions. Mandela was born into royalty. His father was a chief, and young Nelson was groomed to be a counselor to kings. But his life was about to take a sharp turn. When he was just 9 years old, his father died, and Mandela was sent to live with a powerful regent of the Vembu people. The regent provided him with the best education possible, an education rooted in leadership, duty, and history. It was in these formative years that Mandela began to question the injustices around him. He noticed how white people were always in charge, and black people were always poor and powerless. It was not natural, it was not right. In college, Mandela began to stir things up. He protested against university policies and eventually got expelled for refusing to marry the woman his guardian had chosen for him. He fled to Johannesburg, a bustling city that was both exciting and brutal. There, he worked as a night watchman and later studied law. The city opened his eyes further. He saw black South Africans crammed into ghettos, denied jobs, rights, and dignity, all under the system of apartheid. Apartheid, an Afrikaans word meaning apart, was a brutal system of racial segregation enforced by the white minority government. It classified South Africans into racial groups and restricted almost every part of life for non-white citizens: where they could live, whom they could marry, where they could work, and even which public toilets they could use. Mandela joined the African National Congress, the ANC, a political party fighting for the rights of black South Africans. He became part of a younger, more radical group within the ANC, determined to confront apartheid head-on. At first, Mandela believed in non-violent protests. He organized marches, strikes, and boycotts. He gave powerful speeches that lit fires in people's hearts, but the government responded with bullets and batons. Protesters were beaten, arrested, or shot. In 1960, police massacred 69 unarmed people in China. Mandela had seen enough. By 1961, Mandela and his comrades formed an armed wing of the ANC called Umkhonto we Sizwe, Spear of the Nation. They carried out sabotage against government's infrastructure, not to kill, but to send a message: we will not be silent. Mandela became a hunted man. He went underground, disguised as a chauffeur or field worker, moving from safe house to safe house. The press called him the Black Pimp. He was one of the most wanted men in South Africa. Then, in 1962, he was caught. The government accused him of inciting workers to strike and leaving the country illegally. But that wasn't all. In 1963, they raided a secret hideout and discovered documents that linked Mandela and his comrades to a plan to overthrow the state. It was enough for a charge of sabotage and conspiracy. The penalty death at his trial. Mandela stood tall. He did not beg for mercy. Instead, he gave one of the most powerful speeches in history. He spoke for nearly 4 hours, ending with these immortal words: "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." The court spared his life, but sentenced him to life imprisonment. He was sent to Robben Island, a bleak prison off the coast of Cape Town. For 18 of his 27 years in jail, he lived in a small, damp cell with a bucket for a toilet and a thin mat for a bed. He was forced to break rocks during the day, denied reading materials, and allowed only one visitor a year. But Mandela did not break. He read secretly, studied Afrikaans to understand his jailers, and kept his mind sharp. He mentored younger prisoners, negotiated with guards, and turned the prison into a university of resistance. Outside the prison walls, the world was changing. South Africa was increasingly seen as a pariah state. Protests erupted around the globe. Students, musicians, and politicians demanded free Nelson Mandela. His name became a symbol of justice, and his image, though banned in South Africa, was etched into the hearts of millions. Inside the country, unrest grew. The townships were burning. The ANC was still banned, but it operated in exile. The white government, led by President F.W. de Klerk in the late 1980s, realized something. The country was on the edge of collapse. They had to negotiate. In 1990, after secret talks, the unthinkable happened. Nelson Mandela was released. He walked out of Victor Verster prison, his right hand raised in a fist, a gesture of triumph. He was older, thinner, grayer, but not defeated. Mandela returned not as a man hungry for revenge, but as a peacemaker. He preached reconciliation instead of retaliation. "We must forgive," he said. "We must build a nation together, black and white." This message shocked many. Some black South Africans wanted justice. Some white South Africans feared civil war. But Mandela stood firm. There could be no future without forgiveness. In 1993, Mandela and F.W. de Klerk shared the Nobel Peace Prize. A year later, South Africa held its first free and fair election, open to all races. On April 27, 1994, millions stood in line to vote. Some waited 4 hours. For many, it was the first time they ever felt truly human. Nelson Mandela won by a landslide. He became the first black president of South Africa at the age of 75. His inauguration was broadcast around the world. There, standing beside his former enemies, Mandela spoke not of vengeance but of unity. He quoted a poem that had given him strength during his darkest hours. "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." As President Mandela focused on healing the nation, he created the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where victims and perpetrators of apartheid could speak openly. The goal was not punishment, but truth. And through truth, healing. He also did something extraordinary during the Rugby World Cup in 1995. Rugby had always been seen as a white man's sport, a symbol of apartheid. But Mandela, wearing the green jersey of South Africa's national team, walked onto the field to shake hands with the players. It was a powerful moment of unity. South Africa won the cup. The crowd, mostly white, chanted, "Nelson, Nelson, Nelson." It was a rare, magical moment. A country divided by race, cheering together. Mandela served only one term as president. He could have stayed longer, but he believed in democracy and peaceful transitions. He retired in 1999 and devoted his remaining years to humanitarian causes, fighting poverty, HIV, AIDS, and promoting peace. He passed away on December 5, 2013 at the age of 95. The world mourned. Presidents, kings, freedom fighters, and ordinary people gathered to honor the man who had been in prison for 27 years but emerged with grace and forgiveness. Barack Obama called him a giant of history, but Mandela never claimed to be a saint. "I am not a saint," he once said, "unless you think of a saint as a sinner who keeps on trying." That's the legacy of Nelson Mandela. Not perfection, but perseverance. Not bitterness, but forgiveness. Not silence, but courage. In a world still struggling with injustice and division, Mandela's life reminds us that even the most broken of systems can be changed, and that one person, armed with vision, integrity, and heart, can light up the darkest of prisons